If you're going to start, why not start with a bang? Let's put these incredibly difficult vintage F1 cars on one of the toughest Australian racetracks ever made. That's pretty par for the course for these drivers as we get ready to watch round one of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director Christian Duploy, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. If you haven't seen Bathurst before, it's an incredible circuit. Let's introduce you with our track guide. Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrod Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today. One thing I love about this series, Joey, is that this group of drivers, they don't back down from a challenge, so they savor places like this.
Absolutely. Mount Panorama is one of the most daunting circuits, no matter what you go up against. And here we are, 3.86 miles in length and 23 turns. Turn number one, relatively straightforward, but then all of a sudden the climb begins as you head towards Griffin's Bend. Turn number two. Turn 3 and 4, kind of known as the cutting area. That is one of the steepest areas in terms of the uphill. Up over the top of the hill is turns 10 and 11, known as Skyline, and from there on out, it is downhill. The Dipper, another one of those extremely steep sections, except downhill this time. Also, turn number 18 over there, Forest Elbow. You got to make sure to get on apex, and it all starts in that brake zone, because if you miss the beginning half of the corner, you're going to be lacking on the top speed all the way down that Conrod straightaway into the chase, known as turns 20, 21, 22, and that's probably the biggest and best passing opportunity here at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, one of the coolest tracks up and down the mountainside.
Certainly is quite a sight to see, especially with these cars. It's going to be a challenge, no doubt. One thing that you should know is that you've got a good chance to get quite a bit off of iRacing if you haven't joined up yet. We've got a holiday sale here, 50% off all new memberships, and that's all the way until January 5th. So if you're away for the holidays, you can get back in time, hopefully, and be able to join in. So if you're a new member or looking to be a new member, definitely go and take advantage of that. 50% off is an incredibly good deal. So, real quick, do want to touch on what happened at the end of last season. Big story is that Nieva finally got his F1 championship, tried for 10 seasons. So, big congratulations to Jorge Nieva, our new champion. But let's focus on today's race. Take a look at what is in store for today's event. It's round one, as we mentioned, 16 laps, because it takes a bit to get around here, even in these cars. Open setup in this series. Drivers can try and tweak and tune these setups to try and suit the track as best they can, and that will be important to be comfortable around this place. No spare car, though. If you damage it, well, you're going to have to head into pit lane, get it repaired. Drive through at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. Not as much of an issue here because it's mostly walls right up against the side of the track through much of the lap. So as the drivers head into qualifying, we look for the first times on the board shortly, and a decent-sized field has shown up. More than 40 drivers, Joey, going to try and compete.
Yeah, I think I see 42 drivers is what is entered here today. That top iRating, Andres Valenteus, not surprised out there, 9,500, and then it goes all the way down to Tim Porter in that number 42 car. I see lots of familiar names. One that especially sticks out here, Joe, you were even mentioning it before the show. Don Peak is out there in the 39.
Glad to see my dad get back out there and race again. I think he was missing it a little bit, and he does tend to like Bathurst as much of a challenge as it is. Let's see who's going to do what on the first lap times on the board. I think actually we're just getting drivers starting that first lap here, so we might have to wait a bit. In fact, with the amount of time that it takes to get around this track, they can't dilly-dally. They have to go pretty much immediately to get both full laps in.
Watch as Jorge Nieva, our champion, current champion, currently holding that number 2 board, comes around Murray's corner. That is known as turn 23, stands on the gas, throws up the deuces to Barney as he drives by, and he will start that qualifying effort. And with only about 5 minutes remaining on the board, Joe, I just wanted to echo that point you just mentioned. You cannot hang around in the pits at the beginning of qualifying. That outlap takes a while. You better get on it.
Indeed. And looking up and down, Mick Claridge is back. Glad to see him race here. He tends to show pretty well. We'll see whether or not he can come away ahead of Valenteus. And, of course, our current reigning champion, Jorge Nieva, is out here, along with Nick Lakaki, Togo Hisada, all your usual names up at the top. Seb Tixier is here once again. Glad to see all kinds of familiar faces, but who's going to start this one with the best foot forward? If I had to put my money on somebody, based on previous performances, Joey, I'd say Valenteus is probably a good bet for today.
Agreed. I think I'm looking towards that number 1 board of Valenteus, but don't count out Nieva, don't count out Claridge, don't count out Cocky. Hisada, Verbruggen is all in here, and I think the most aggressive one in terms of being able to get the passes done is Seb Tixier, right? He's in the number 8 car today, but he is so aggressive on that brake pedal in these brake zones. It can be very difficult to pass on the mountain, but once you get down here into these straightaway sections, you need to be able to be aggressive on that brake pedal pressure in order to get those passes done.
Got a couple on the board. Mick Claridge goes quickest so far of the few that have set times, waiting for the rest of them to cross the line. Here's Jorge Nieva coming through the chase now. Just needs to be nice and tidy here through the last little section, right up to the curb on the exit, using every inch of the track. And then one last 90-degree left-hander to go in Murray's corner. That looks pretty good to me. Coming off of that one, what kind of time is it going to be? A 2:02.4, and that will put him up to third, just off the front row.
Yeah, right now, Togo Hisada's first lap was a scorcher. Oh my goodness, a 2:01.7 currently is the provisional pole time. You got to look over half a second, nearly 3/4 of a second back is Mick Claridge in the number 3 car. So here's Togo. He is starting his second qualifying lap. This is Griffin's Bend, turn number 2. You can really see how uphill this section really is. It is going to get steeper here in the next couple corners.
Talking to some Australians, they're saying that the sim doesn't really do the sensation of elevation change justice, which kind of jives with my impressions at most racetracks. Once you go there in person, you realize just how big some of the hills are. By the way, Valenteus puts his first lap down, only second, surprisingly. Togo Hisada, like you said, put a real scorcher on the board.
He's known, he's previous multi-time champion. He is always one of the fastest out here. So if you're going to show up and race 49s, you're going to have to beat this driver right here, Togo Hisada. So he's obviously on it on his first qualifying lap, and his second actually looks tracking pretty good as well.
Yeah, I'm showing I'm doing pretty decently here, but Mick Claridge is having some improvement. 2:01.9. He's close, but no cigar. He stays in third, less than a tenth off of Valenteus. Hisada down, Conrad straight, looking for the braking here. These cars get incredibly quick, 191 miles an hour into the kink. For reference, the supercars are only hitting 175 into there.
I was just about to throw out that reference as well, because we were watching the qualifying times on those brand new Gen 3 supercars last night as Togo rounds this final corner, and they were doing about 2:08s. Let's see what Togo puts down, a 2:01.700. He improves that lap time, albeit only by about 100th of a second.
Coming across the line, Nieva not able to get that second lap down. It looks like he must have brushed across the grass and gone beyond the track limits there, unfortunately. What about Bruno Santamaria here? He needs to set a time, and that's good enough for 21st.
He crosses the line here. Let's pick up the number 38 car in through the chase section. This is going to be Andres Bruno putting the hammer down. This is a little short shoot straightaway before you got to jump on the brakes. Right here, you see the nose dive back down into the pavement. Nice and clean on the apex. Let's see what Bruno is able to put down here. If he can put down a time of 2:07.0, it will slot him into 27th.
Douglas Nelson able to set a time, but that's only 32nd for him. We're missing a lot of drivers. Seb Tixier amongst them. Clapper, Rodriguez, Jonathan Jourdain has not set a time, so there's going to be some drivers with a bit of hard work in front of them here in a moment. Looks like the session is officially over, so let's go through that starting order with so many drivers to try and get through, starting, of course, with our pole position of Togo Hisada. Excellent lap out of the Japanese driver. And he is going to be starting next to Andreas Valenteus to his outside. Mick Claridge will be starting in the third position with Jorge Nieva in P4. And then it's Leo Sequeiro in fifth. Nick Lakaki starts sixth today, followed by Kevin Verbruggen, showing a continued good string of form there in seventh. Laust Olsen is eighth, with David Rossi ninth, and Steve Morris rounding out your top 10.
And then in 11th place over here, we've got Gary Ho. Jim Matson will be starting in 12th with Roberto Pingrazzi 13th. Akuliski here in 14th. Hannah Fechner in 15th. John Olsen 16th. Marco Salgado starting 17th. Tobias Harnvey in 18th. Jan Steffen 19th. And Robert Plumley is going to be rounding out your top 20.
Bruno Santamaria will be in 21st, followed by Thomas Tuba in the 22nd spot. Then it's Kurt Clapper, P23, Michael Grissinger in 24th. Quarter century mark goes to Cam Porter, Donald Peak. Excellent qualifying for Don at 26. Andre Bruno will be 27th, and Johannes Brouwer will start 28th. Then 15th row goes to Ben Summers and Timothy Porter.
31st is David Mews with Douglas Nelson in 32nd. Seb Tixier did not get in a qualifying effort, going to start from 33rd. That's a nightmare for that number 8. Jason Clapper, 34th. Juan Rodriguez, 35th. Maudsley back here in 36th. Julio Torres in 37th. Eugenia Massa in 38th. Jonathan Jourdain, 39th. A couple more here. Sandeep Banerjee in 40th. Thomas Willershausen, 41st. And Alan Graham rounds out 42 cars.
They go around the corner here for a standing start, so this is going to be interesting as the green flag is already out and Togo Hisada is on the loud pedal. It's not the greatest of starts, though. Andres Valenteus looking around the outside, coming into hell corner. Can he out-drag him off of it? It looks like he is as he starts to pull ahead down Mountain Straight.
Let's see if he can keep the momentum up because he is on the preferred side of the racetrack when you go into Griffin's Bend, and watch out for that red car in third place. That's McClaren. He has an opportunity to box out Togo Hisada, but Togo takes it in crazy deep on the brakes in turn 2. Valenteus powers out, though.
It's so hard to pass around the outside of turn 2. Just did not work. He settles into second at least and minimizes the damage. But now he's lost that track position at the start. Behind him does look very single file, which is good to see. These cars are going to be tricky to try and go side by side up through the cutting. Just a little bit of battling at the very back of the field. Already up through the various parks now at the top of the hill for the sharp end of the field.
And over these very, very fast left-handers. This right here is turn number 10, and then all of a sudden down through Skyline, and it goes from over the crest of the hill into this steep, steep downhill section. This is the dipper. You got to make sure you get the cars slowed up, and then a little bit of a jaunt of acceleration right here before another switchback, and oh boy, you better get the brake zone right for this one.
Down through Forest Elbow, so hard to get the car pointed where you want it, but it looks like Valenteus manages it well, keeps himself about 0.3 ahead of Togo Hisada. But look at them weaving, trying to break that slipstream. You do got to be careful. Some of the crests on these long straightaways actually get the car extremely light.
With the zero wings and aerodynamics, it can be a little bit tricky, but these drivers at the front are masters at this 49, and here comes Togo Hisada. Got a better run through the chase. Valenteus goes defensive through turn 23, pretty much boxing out Hisada, but actually an over-under attempt. Here comes Togo.
Much better exit for the Japanese driver. Valenteus is going to be on the outside here, but that worked at the start of the race. Can he manage it again? Yes, he does. Hisada pinched down at the apex each time. Here comes Mick Claridge in the bright red number 3. He's got a big run, and he's bringing along Jorge Nieva, but it's just not enough. Wow, look at the slipstream that Togo is pulling, but he's got no place to take it. And you talked about being boxed in before. Is this going to work out for Mick? No, it won't.
And let's see if Jorge Nieva takes advantage. Yes, from 4th to 3rd there in turn number 2, and now leaves a little bit of room and shuts the door for McClaren, who now forces the issue. Almost got into the inside wall trying to avoid Nieva. That was a pretty aggressive move from Mick. I don't know if the car was quite there yet, but they all made it through.
It was all arms and elbows for a brief moment for Mick Claridge, but great job catching that car, and he continues on in the 4th place. But this is actually stacking up a bit, other than Andreas and Togo taking off somewhat at the front. You go all the way down to Kevin Verbruggen. They got a line of cars to 7th.
Well, I think we might have just had our first incident here on lap number 2. Let's see what happened maybe on the first lap. This is Juan Rodriguez in the number 20 car. This is into the chase section. Just in a little bit deep, and kind of got into the number 39 car out there. You see the number 20 spinning as a result.
Yeah, and I believe that, that 39. I was going to say, I know that Lifesaver paint scheme. That would be Dawn, and got a little bit edged out there. Yeah, Jim Matson had an issue coming up through the parks as we go side by side for the lead. And Valenteus will come out ahead once again, coming down to the chase. But we've seen a good over-under from Togo before. He likes that move. Oh, he gets the wheel spin on the rears. He catches the car, but it was all sorts of sideways.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Lotus 49 race without Togo Hisada hanging out the back end of the car. So, hey, lap number 2, let's check that one off.
I don't know if it's considered a stereotype to joke about Tokyo Drift, but man, he likes to do that a lot out here. It's becoming a thing for Togo Hisada, and he's going to have to make up some lost time now because of that loss of traction. This one looking a lot more calm climbing up the mountain straight than last lap, though.
I'm watching the top speeds here, about 175 miles an hour, and actually Nieva, all sorts of out of shape on the brake pedal right there. Mick Claridge is going to take advantage, so a rare kind of self-mistake out of that number 2 car. He was just in really, really deep, and dare I say, maybe was even in the marbles when he jumped on the brakes on that left side. And this was that incident coming up and over the hill. I believe there was a couple cars, including Jan Steffen, involved.
And I think that may have been Steve Morris, that kind of started it all. I'm hearing now from the in-race chat that he had a problem with his pedals disconnecting, and that is what sent him out of this race. Ooh, that was a look down the inside of the skyline. That rarely works, but Hisada's at least trying to see if he can rattle Valenteus.
They're feeling feisty here. It's round one. I think these drivers kind of see it as a brand new slate out there, and maybe you can give up a drop round early on. So why not go out there and be aggressive? I've been pretty impressed that out of the incidents that we have had, Joe, they've only been a few cars or a couple cars, and usually that is not typical here.
Yeah, usually you get pretty big pileups if they're early on in the middle of the pack, but everybody being very good heads up about the situation here. Toga Hisada, like you said, feisty is a good word to describe the start of this race. He really, really wants to get in front of Valenteus. He knows he's quicker because he took the pole, but he can't seem to make it stick. Goes for the over-under. That time it doesn't work. I almost feel like he needs to use that move here, coming into Hell Corner.
But it's a matter of, can you force Valenteus to be in the position to actually do that over-under? So, yes, I agree with you. If you can get the over-under done on the true front straightaway, that might provide you this opportunity. But here's the slipstream effect, right? So Hisada's directly in that draft, and now Valenteus goes defensive right in the middle of the racetrack. So, Togo, we've seen the outside not prevail in these 49s, and turn two is just so long, I don't really think you can do an over-under. I think you're right, Joe. Probably the back half of the racetrack or the chase.
All right. Can he set himself up for that as he holds on tight? Last time he tried to kind of show his nose into Skyline, maybe sort of a faked attempt just to see whether or not Valenteus would get off the racing line. Oh, and a big accident for John Olsen here. Someone on their lid on top of things. We've got more action behind them. Cam Porter coming up to that wreck. Hopefully the cars will clear out by the time they reach it.
I mean, it was a perfect clip from our director to go to it, and I think it was John Olsen in the 11 and Liskey in the number 19, and we talked about how steep these uphill sections can be, but we got concrete walls on both sides. If there's any sort of mistake or confusion on where to place the car side by side, it can be disaster.
And Porter up by 5 currently, so he's making up some good spots on only lap 4 here, and still got plenty of racing to go. What about Robert Plumley sitting in 15th? He's sandwiched between Santa Maria and Seb Tixay, who's gained 19 since the start. But we're going to leave them because it's back to Togo Hisada once again. This really has been one of the best battles in the race, this fight for the lead.
Let's see if he can kind of take your advice here, but Valenteus just covers off the racing line, does a nice apex through turn 23, Murray's corner, and doesn't allow that over-under. So Hisada's got to look for the next corner, and Valenteus, once again, on the racing line, hits the brake marker perfect. So Hisada's going to have to go force that pass, and sometimes it starts way back at Forrest Elbow. Sometimes it starts with the draft down into the chase. It might not be just that corner. Here he goes again outside. I just don't think it's going to happen going up the hill.
I'm with you. He's going to have to slot back in, and he does, knowing how much the car drifts out through Griffin's Bend. The more they fight, though, the more that lets Mick Claridge regain on the time that he's lost to them. He's got it down to 0.3 of a second.
Putting the power down. Togo, I think he is the faster car right now as we get this replay. This is between Liskey and Olsen, so watch. This is 2 cars and maybe just thinking there's a little bit more space out there. The 19 drifting out wide, maybe the 11 coming down narrow. Either way, both of them ended up in the wall.
Well, like you said, just concrete there, so all you can do is lick your wounds and take a tow into pit lane, because there's not going to be any driving it back from a hit that big. Man, I said Mick Claridge was catching up. I didn't think it would be quite this quickly. He is absolutely there now, and he's brought along Jorge Nieva once again. Fresh off of a championship, he wants to continue that momentum. He drops off of Forrest Elbow, though not nearly as strong accelerating as these 3.
Looks maybe 7, 8 car lengths is the gap between our front two. And I thought that the slipstream was incredibly powerful right here last lap. And then once they go through that turn 20 apex, they're actually off the gas. There's a deep dive from Hisada. Avoidance from our leader. That was an extremely close call. Togo missed the brake soon. Andreas paid for it.
I can hear the thank you, mate, coming from Mick Claridge in my ears now. He is loving that, as Nieva is now going to try to take second away from Valenteus. Both of them picked the pockets of our battling pair. Nicely done. If I know Togo, he's going to feel a little bit sheepish. He doesn't really race that way.
Definitely. He didn't mean to force our leader off of the track, but I gotta say, amazing heads up and awareness from Valenteus, right? He saw that Togo was in too deep. He drove it off the racetrack to avoid the incident. And guess what? Everybody lives to race another lap.
Boy, that camera angle really shows you how the fronts of these cars get in the air coming over the crest, the jump there. Up mountain straight. It definitely sends you flying. Robert Plumley back to this battle with Bruno Santamaria, and Plumley does not win out. Bruno manages to out-accelerate him coming up the mountain straight. That's Jason Clapper, up 17, doing his traditional start from the back of the fields. Decides better to try and wait as he lifts before they get to the braking zone.
Probably the best approach right there, right? If you can't get the pass done cleanly, especially in the mountain section, it's best to be patient out there. As we check in on the 39, remember, he got forced off the track a little bit earlier, but looks like he's made a nice recovery, arguing it out right now with Tim Porter, and almost making contact right there with the 42. The 42 of Porter was just way out wide in turn number 2, and once again, just really good racecraft from our drivers to avoid each other.
Jourdain's going to pick up a spot from that fight, and interestingly, that was Rodriguez near them in that gray car. That was the one that shoved off Don Peak a little bit earlier. Thankfully, they avoided it this time. Valenteus versus Nieva. He's got the speed, and Nieva, as he tends to do, decides not to fight it. He's not the most aggressive of drivers, tends to try and fight another day.
Once again, though, the smart move, right? You can't just go out there and fight every single position, every single corner. We still have Mick Claridge about 3/4 of a second, actually 1.2 seconds up the road. So if you want the chance at a checkered flag, sometimes it's following the faster car up to the battle and then taking advantage of your own racecraft once you're there.
That's a good point. Yeah, you could definitely pull along Nieva here. As we come back to Kurt Clapper now in 20th position. That is Cam Porter just in front of him. Cam usually easily identifiable by his red and then checkered car. But we're going to go back to Juan Rodriguez once again. He's moved himself up to 24th, and he's fighting with Andre Bruno there for that position as they weave their way through the chase. But Bruno gets a little bit out of sorts, and he's going to lose time.
Yeah, saw how just wide he was coming out at 22 and definitely lost a bunch of track position. So this is back up to our leaders. There goes Claridge. There goes Valenteus. There's Nieva. Hisada right on the tail. I got to give credit, though. Leo Sequeiro has hung in there. He's only about a second back from this top 4, and the way they've all been racing up here, I would not consider him out of the thing. Cocky and Verbruggen are also right there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you go down from 1st to 5th, and it's less than 3 seconds between the leader and that P5. So all this fighting has kept things very close together. I think if they would have maybe worked together, they might have been just a bit farther ahead. But Claridge now has the open track in front of him, and he does like that open track. If he can start to run away, he will.
I'm chuckling over here to myself as Cocky goes side by side here with Verbruggen. I just am trying to imagine this group of 40 drivers, especially this top 10 out here, Joe, and you're just, hey, you know, if you guys work together, it'll be okay. You'll stretch it out.
Good point. Yeah, fairly taken, as Nicola Cocky is not working together with Verbruggen. They're trying to fight it out for this 6th position. Verbruggen now comes back to the racing line down into Murray's corner. He doesn't feel under threat quite yet from Nicola Cocky, who does love to get a good fight in. Just an update for fans of Juan Rodriguez. Unfortunately, he seems to have had an off course there up on the mountain, so I think his day might be done. Back to Togo Hisada now in 4th place. if I know Togo, he's not going to sit around and wait behind Jorge Nieva. Pretty sure he's going to fight him for this podium position.
Nieva maybe a little bit wide there into turn number 2 as Jordan is under pressure from Bruno. So maybe Togo Hisada is not done with the aggression yet. We've seen Nieva kind of leave the door open for Andreas a couple laps ago. I think that Togo is probably looking for the same treatment right here, but you also have to be careful up and over the mountain with how much pressure you actually apply. You don't want Nieva making a mistake and collecting you. You have to kind of assert what you're saying, but where is that limit? Apparently Togo Hisada says right next to the gearbox.
He comes up to him and is going to try and see if he could get in his head a little bit here, fill up the mirrors as they come down through the dipper, make him think twice about having any mistakes here, trying to hold off to the right-hand side into Forest Elbow, and then it's all about trying to keep themselves with traction. Man, it's been an awful day for Don. That's twice he's been punted off in the same corner in this race.
Yeah, literally in the exact same spot, kind of in the exact same fashion. Very unfortunate for the 39. Here goes Hisada. He gets by Nieva, and they actually both clear that lap car before that crucial turn number 20. So Togo freed up with nothing but clean air between himself and the 2 leaders.
So up to third now, about a second to get to Andreas Valenteus, who, by the way, has turned up the wick once again. Half a second between himself and Mick Claridge. Mick, if I know him, he's going to try to put on a cool face for this, but I'm sure he's sweating a bit in that rig.
This is a fantastic fight between Kaki and Verbruggen. They've gone back and forth now a couple times here. The only bad part about it, remember how we were mentioning that they were pretty close to our lead battle? Because they've kind of argued, they've dropped back about 3 seconds off of Leo Sequeira, but I think they're having fun.
Not enough fun for Kaki to try and stick his nose in up into Griffin's Bend as we get a little bit of cloud cover here. It's been pretty good conditions on the track itself at about 96 Fahrenheit on the track surface. Hopefully this will cool it down some. These are pretty hard tires, as you can't overheat them, but they're made to last for a long time. Have we had a problem with Andre Bruno coming out of the cutting? Yes, we have. And just gooses it a little too hard. Ooh, and causes someone a real problem. 2 cars a problem as he tries to right his boat. Oh, well, you got to watch that F2 or F3 box, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you could probably write a novel on what went wrong there, trying to get it going back on track. But let's check back in on our leaders. Valenteus has officially caught Mick Claridge, and the race is on for the front.
If you're watching this thinking you could handle these guys, well, you get to prove it, because you can get 50% off your new iRacing membership if you're not a member yet. So join up today and show what you've got out here in the Lotus 49s on one of the hardest tracks that you can race here in the sim. Valenteus, one of the hardest to beat. Mick Claridge is going to try and do it. Few have done it as of late. I think there was only once last season that Valenteus was beat on track, and I want to say that was in the oval, which you can kind of understand. Not usually the place that, well, he does pretty good, but things can go awry so easily on the oval side of things. Valenteus showing himself coming down into Hell Corner. Mick Claridge doesn't fall for it, although he goes a little bit deep.
Let's see about the run out of here. What I was about to say is, if Mick Claridge really wants to fend off Valenteus, I think he's got to race him, right? Stay on the defensive line. Bring Togo Hisada into the picture, right? Force Valenteus to look in his mirrors. We've seen the outside line not prevail in turn number 2. Valenteus, that's the furthest up alongside, and that was pretty close there. Mick Claridge is doing what he needs to. Here's Togo Hisada.
Say hello to the number 5. He's back in it once again. He caught up in that one single corner just from that side-by-side action. But yeah, I was impressed with how much grip Valenteus managed to find. If Claridge had maybe tracked out a little bit, he maybe could have carried some better speed, but he gave enough space. He didn't want to run into Valenteus. Not sure if he was going to be able to stay there as they come off McPhillamy Park. It's downhill from here. Top 3 split by half a second.
Remember to jump on the brakes. Nice and easy right here. You can't just stab the brakes. It's all about rolling onto it, just like how you think about rolling onto the accelerator to prevent wheel spin. You don't want to upset the car. This is another important corner right here. Once again, clearage very wide in the beginning half. Let's see if Valenteus can capitalize. He's much, much closer.
They approach down the Conrad. It's a massive run here from Valenteus. Already up to 190 miles an hour. He's got a bit of an advantage, and he's got the inside. Mick Claridge sliding it through the corner. Valenteus, a shallow line, and that is going to hurt him. Claridge knows it. He gasses it up sooner coming off the chase, and he's back ahead. Here comes Togo Hisada, Joey. He's got a good chance.
This is what I'm talking about. If Claridge wants to win this race, he's got to bring Togo Hisada into the picture, and he's going to do that by racing with Valenteus. Now they're all single file one more time to cross the start-finish line. Mick Claridge doing an excellent job hanging onto the front.
Togo couldn't do it on his own, although he stayed close. Now that he's got help with Mick Claridge as a distraction, will that be enough? Last time, he couldn't complete the pass around the outside. Valenteus did not learn his lesson. He's going to try it again, but he's also a little bit farther ahead once again coming into the brake zone. Togo's trying to get as close as he can. He knows he's got a great chance to try and overtake. No, he's not going to have it. Valenteus does hang tough. He's got the inside coming into the cutting now. Mick Claridge has to finally give up the ghost.
Apparently, that's why he's got the number one board. We have yet to see the outside line work in turn number 2. Our leader got it done, and now Claridge is actually struggling with the back end of the car, wiggling around. Togo Hisada looks hungry. He actually looks like a challenger for that number 1 car. Can he motivate Mick or get by him to go claim a checkered flag?
Talked about that tail hanging out. I thought for sure that Mick had touched the wall, but apparently he did not coming through Reed Park. It was close, though. Nieva now regaining his lost time on the back of them. Even Leo Sequeiro could be a factor here if they keep battling. But if they do that, it might just be between Mick and Togo because Valenteus is already gone.
He is. Half a second out front. The only thing that he can maybe hope for is Mick Claridge being able to run through the chase and nail this brake marker, but Togo Hisada 198 miles an hour before they had to turn in right there to turn number 20. Everybody looks to be nice and tidy through 21 and 22, so Mick Claridge kind of closed the gap, but Togo Hisada still looking for second.
And I can't stress enough for our viewers that have not driven these cars on iRacing. These things are dancing. They're skimming across the track once you, I'd say, get above about 150. They do not feel planted. In a track like this with elevation change down those long straights, it is scary. So let's see if anybody can withstand the fear and try and use that to their advantage. Looks like Togo might. He's got a good run on Mick.
And this is going to get very interesting here. Here goes Togo Hisada to the inside. Let's see if he can outbrake him. Mick Claridge deep into the corner. Togo Hisada will prevail, but we've got some lapped cars on the horizon.
That's rare that you can shake Mick off the racing line. Great job by Togo. Aggressive, but it works. And yeah, this is actually checking up Valenteus quite a bit. Jim Matson, who had the early incident, has brought the car back out. No place to go. Over the top of the hill, unless he forces the issue, he is by, but the damage is done. Togo's there again.
And now we've got another one directly in front of our leaders. That's Tomas Tuba. He's trying to get out of the way, but he's on the racing line going back and forth. Contact now. Valenteus gets into him. He's going to have some damage, and he ends up into the wall himself.
Full 360 car points back forward, missing a bit of the nose, but he's still running. I don't think he hit the suspension. Hopefully the car's okay, that he can at least limp it home. Togo's back into first, Mick Claridge into second, Nieva moves into third, and Sequeiro finally gets his fourth place.
Yes, and I'm checking out as we look at Laust Olsen here on screen. On my screen, I'm looking at Valenteus' car. I don't see it necessarily tracking sideways or anything. I'll report the top speed, but he might have gotten away with it with just a little bit of that bodywork damage like you were saying.
That's going to really hurt on these long straights. You might not think that these are aero-dependent cars, but they definitely are, and you will feel the loss of straight line speed down Conrad and up mountain. Olsen, by the way, a good ninth place for him today. If he could bring it home from here, he deserves a bit of a good luck. Just ahead of him, we got this nice little fight coming into the final corner between Nicola Kaki and Kevin Verbruggen, still for 6, as they have not caught Valenteus.
Kaki's trying to force the issue here into hell corner. Turn number 1 is going to have to settle for trying to put the power down a little bit better than his competitor, and now he's fully up alongside, and he's actually going to have the inside here to turn number 2. This little crest of the hill, you were saying these cars are so light, both of them lift off of the gas, and it actually was Kaki that lifted off so much that Verbruggen took back that position.
Kevin looking very festive as well with his paint scheme today, I have to say. With Christmas coming right up this next week, let's see if Santa can give him a gift early and get him that position. Here's what happened. Yeah, just wanting to get by, that's a tough one because it's hard to get out of the way if you're a lapped car, but I understand the sense of urgency that Valenteus felt.
Yes, 100%. And the tough part was Tuba was trying to get out of the way, but he was also drifting across the racing line. So, yeah, you'd put the fault square on the shoulders there, but also Togo was forcing the issue 3 wide, didn't leave a lot of room. Oh, my goodness. Ooh. Yeah, that was Verbruggen getting all sorts of out of shape right there, gave the position to Nicola.
Probably very glad that they paved over that section of track. One of the few spots where you have an escape route here on the mountain. And it's, that's a perfect example of why they put that there. It's so easy to go a little bit too wide down through that corner. Loses some time. Claridge versus Hisada. 2 different faces now battling for the lead. Claridge gets the inside away from Togo, but Togo showing that the outside line actually works extremely well in these cars at this track.
This is bad news bears for everybody. Seeing Togo Hisada up front and in clean air. Remember, he was your fastest in qualifying, and with Valenteus with damage falling throughout this field, it is going to be tough to displace this number 5.
Well, here's the problem. Audrius Valenteus has a meatball flag, so we don't have enough laps that he can drive it to the finish without penalty. He is going to have to stop and get that repaired, so he'll drop down the order, and a few more drivers are going to get promoted. Claridge going for the long way around. He saw his rival do it, and he can't do the same. He'll have to fall back, coming up through Griffin's Bend once again. Togo Hisada continuing to fend off all comers. He took the pole, but it has been hard work to convert that to a win.
Now you see Valenteus pulling off to the side there. It's stacked up both Kaki and Verbruggen there for just a moment, but he's going to be bringing it into pit lane as this is our lead battle up and over the very, very top of the mountain right there. And now we start to descend.
They've dropped Jorge Nieva by about 2 seconds now. Can't seem to keep up with this pair. Mano a mano for the win with 2.5 laps to go in the opening round of the Grand Prix Legends. Big wiggle there from Mick Claridge coming out of the dipper. Cost him a bit of time. Now he's deep coming down into Forest Elbow, but manages to get it woed up. Mick Claridge is hustling.
He is. He's doing a terrific job, and I think it's kind of the same situation as Don Peak and the 32 are having a good little fight back here. Let's see what position this is for 25th right now. It's Thomas Willershausen that he just managed to get by, and I'm going to call it a comeback there for Don Peak. He has been forced off the playground a few times, and he's still trucking.
Yeah, I know I'm a bit biased here, but it's been an impressive race considering he's up 1 from where he started.
Yeah.
So he could have had a very good finish if he wasn't punted off a couple times there. Back to Nick Kaki. This is down into the final corner, chasing on Kevin Verbruggen. These two have been glued at the hip all race long.
See who puts the power down better. It's interesting. It's kind of a matter of which driver wants to go out there and lead, and sometimes neither driver wants to go out there and lead.
Whoa! Did you see Mick Claridge get sideways up and over the crest? That gives him a lot of speed, but not at the right place as he gets on the outside of Griffin's Bend. Ooh, he gets a good run off of there, though. Is he going to put his nose in? Looks like Togo's going to chop him off, coming down into the cutting. A little bit too hot for Mick Claridge. He gets sideways. He's into the wall. No, he keeps it out of it. And Nieva says, thank you. That's my second place now.
So unfortunate in terms of our lead battle, but Togo Hisada was able to fend off the pressure from Mick Claridge. I thought if those two could maybe fight for a few corners, it could bring Nieva into the picture, but instead it just kind of dropped into his lap. So our champion from last season currently sitting in second.
Tell you what, Mick's heart rate is probably through the roof right now, sideways through the air, and then managing to survive a spin at the cutting. And he's still in third place, although I'm sure he would like that second back and would even more like to be in first. But now he's 4 seconds behind Togo Hisada. Here's the spin. Did he touch the wall on the way in, or did he just overdrive it?
He was just wide. He was just very, very wide on entry. And if you guys drive this racetrack, you know that you have to be on the racing line. And if you're just out a little bit too wide, you're asking too much of the car. It's too dirty out there, and it just doesn't work.
Is he going to try and settle for that P3, or will he fight Nieva on this last lap? Togo Hisada, in the meantime, gap of about 3.5 seconds ahead of P2. He's got clear track in front of him. All he's got to do is bring it home. White flag out for Nieva and Claridge as they get ready to head back up the mountain. This has really been not a happy hunting ground if you're Mick Claridge coming out of here and up to turn 2. What can he do differently?
Let's see if he can do anything to close that gap right now. It looks pretty even between our front two. Wiggles as they go up and over the crest. Nieva nice and early on the brakes to get to that apex there at turn number 2. So Claridge closes the gap, but you can see what that does at the back half of the corner. If you kind of give up the front half, you can focus on putting the power down.
Claridge getting very close now, coming up through Quarry and into Reed Park. This is narrow through this portion of the track. It crests here at Solman as it is a fast left-hand flick through here. Again, he has to check up. He's much faster than Nieva through this portion, but there's no place to take the speed.
There really is, and you can see the commitment level from Mick Claridge, and you're right, he is definitely faster than Nieva. Almost gets into the back there, has to lock up, and it's going to cost him a little bit of time. I think that might have potentially given up second place, because if he had stayed close through this corner, it would have allowed him to run down the Conrad straight.
He was a little bit cleaner coming through Forest Elbow, and it gets him about a 10th back, but it's not enough. I agree. He's just a bit far back. He might have a chance fighting him into the chase. He's gaining on him. He's gaining on him. Oh, maybe it's better than we thought. He's going to be on the outside coming in as Nieva defends the inside into the corner. He's fully ahead. As long as he makes it, I think he's okay. And he balks Mick at the exit. Meanwhile, ahead of them, Togo Hisada, he reaches traffic, but that doesn't matter because he is at the finish, takes the checkered flag from pole to victory.
And just behind, Nieva will cross the line in second, squeezing out Mick Claridge right there. You see him off of the racetrack, just narrowly finishing in third place. Leo Sequeira almost had himself a podium.
And unfortunately, just ahead of him, Don Peak is going to get the extra lap, but he's got a black flag for incident limits. That is just insult to injury. Valenteus, did Valenteus finish without pitting? How did that happen?
Yeah, I checked his his meatball that last time, and he still had it. I thought maybe he came in and served it and then went back out, but I'm not sure. You're going to have a conversation with Barney at the end.
Yeah, maybe it didn't appear immediately. Maybe he clouded the wall a little bit, and it popped up afterwards. Oh, Jonathan Jourdain. A nice little fight. Oh, no, too close of a fight. They come together. Jourdain goes off. Can he get it slowed up in time? He tries to get it back onto the track. Nope, he is facing the wrong way now. And into the gravel pit he goes once again. Sandeep Banerjee is going to pick up a spot thanks to that, and that was with Bruno Santamaria that fight was with.
So this is our last battle on the racetrack right here. This is Eugenio Massa versus Thomas Willershausen. Massa's in that turquoise color car. Willershausen here giving chase. And I was just going to say something as we watch these two close out this race, Joe. We didn't even mention his name today. Seb Tixier finished in 10th.
Yeah, nice climb up the order. Said he was a little bit upset with how things were going for himself coming into this race, but I'd say he did a good job with it in the end. Willershausen going to chase Massa to the line. Don Peak going to follow up behind them. I guess the one good thing about Don having that black flag here is that he's the last one on the lead lap, so if he has a time penalty, he stays in the same position anyways, and he'll come home with a 25th. So with that, he actually parks it here. It knows it doesn't matter. Oh, goodness. That is going to be it, as our winner was Togo Hisada for the opening round. Jorge Nieva with second place, and Mick Claridge finishing P3. Leo Sequeiro was fourth, and Kevin Verbruggen fifth. Valenteus P6, and Nicola Kaki seventh. After that, you've got Laust Olsen finishing the P8, Gary Ho in ninth, and Seb Tixier, somewhat invisible but impressive 10th.
Across the page into 11th is David Rossi. Hannah Fechner will finish 12th. Marco Salgado finishing in 13th. Roberto Pingrazi in 14th. Jason Clapper with a nice run as always up into 15th. Robert Plumley finishing 16th. Cam Porter back here in 17th. He had a good run as well, +8. Then Johannes Brouwer, also a good run, +10 to finish 18th. Bruno Santamaria, 19th. Sandeep Banerjee, +20 to finish in 20th.
Jonathan Jourdain, 39th to 21st, followed by Ben Summers in 22nd, and Eugenio Massa, 38th to 23rd. Willershausen, 41st to 24th. Nicely done. Don Peak, 26th to 25th, and the last one on the lead lap. Tobias Harnvey, 2 laps down, 26th. Akuliski in 27th, and Timothy Porter, 3 laps down in 28th. From there, Juan Rodriguez, 5 laps down in 29th, but he did see the checkered flag. It was the DNF, though, for Torres in 30th. A few other cars did get to the finish. Grissinger got there. Muse did not. Clapper, Bruno, Graham, Matson, Maudsley, Steve Morris, Stefan, Olsen, Nelson, and Tuba, unfortunately, getting gobbled up by the mountain today. Not too great of a surprise to see that many wind up with issues out there. Sounds like it was a decent day for Cam Porter, who's getting ready to talk to us. Oh, actually, I just saw we had one of our podium finishers show up. Let's talk to Jorge Nieva first here, who finished in P2 in the end. Jorge, first of all, we didn't get to say it last time because we didn't realize you had clinched it. Congratulations on finally getting the F1 championship, and congratulations on a podium today. You had to work for this one.
Thank you. Well, I didn't do anything. They just crashed into each other, and I was there. It wasn't hard at all.
If that wasn't hard, my goodness, I can't imagine the difficulty of a truly tough race out there. You had a lot of fast drivers up in front of you, but it looked to us that you were kind of in survival mode. Is that accurate, that you were just kind of letting fast drivers through if they came up behind you?
Yeah, I was expecting them to fight because I didn't feel I had the speed to actually overtake. So I thought chaos was my only chance, and I succeeded.
You did indeed. And since we now get a chance to really pick your brain about that championship, did you do anything to celebrate finally getting that? Is that just a huge weight off your shoulders?
Nah, I was really happy because I have been in second position in championship for a lot of seasons, and I was happy for winning. But at the end, it's only racing with friends, so it isn't important.
As humble as always. That's why we love you. Congratulations once again, Jorge.
Thank you, guys.
Up next after our P2 finisher, looks like we have 8th place. I believe Joey's catching up with Laust Olsen today.
Yeah, we've got Laust Olsen in the booth. Congratulations on surviving Bathurst. That's an accomplishment in itself. Laust, we got you on mic? Yeah, there we go. Now we got you. Congrats on that 8th place.
Yeah, thanks.
How was the... Go ahead.
Come on. Yeah, I was just saying I had a a great battle with Gary Ho and David Rossi the entire race. So never a moment to relax.
We saw that these cars were quite sketchy down the straightaways, almost even catching air at some points. Was that kind of in your mind as you were battling down at nearly 200 miles an hour?
Yeah, it was. It's a little better now than it was some seasons ago. Now I can keep the full throttle all the way. But some seasons ago, there was a place with a small jump on the straight, the first straight, where I would lose the car if I didn't let go of the throttle. So it's actually a little easier now than it was before. But still, you gotta believe that it catches on again when it lands. So it's it can get on your nerves a little bit.
It's good to hear, though, that it is drivable out there. And since this is the start of a new season, we often see you in a variety of these vintage series. A good top 10 to start the 49 season. Is that maybe motivation to kind of continue this effort and be in here every single week? Or are we going to kind of see you hop in, hop out this season?
I hope to be able to do the entire season, except the next race I will have to skip because I'm on holiday vacation. But otherwise, I plan to be here the entire season, and I'm pretty happy with today's result because I made one mistake. Yeah, I hit the wrong button down the straight and turned off the engine. That's when Gary he passed me. It took me a while to get it going again. So. But otherwise, it's been a good race for me with no major mistakes otherwise, and so that's quite comforting. Looking back at a couple of hard seasons, so I'm hopeful that I can keep on the good today's effort.
I'd say that's extremely impressive to be able to refire the car after it dying there on you in the middle of a battle. That's a lot going on, as well as to keep it on the racetrack. Congratulations on that 8th. Is there anybody you wanted to say hi to?
Yeah, I would like to thank the community. It's has always been and still is a great place to race, and also GSRC for the great broadcast you put on every week.
Definitely go check out that GSRC broadcast because we got some new graphics out here today. That was Laust Olsen finishing in 8th place in that number 14 car, Joe.
And it sounds like we've got our winner finally ready to talk to us. He's finished spraying the champagne. Togo Hisada, your victor today. Togo, my goodness, what a fight that was between not just you and Valenteus, but you and Mick Claridge as well. Has your heart rate come down yet?
Yeah, still I'm very happy to win the first round this season, but it feels like a little bit I win. I just ruined the Aldous race twice. Tried to apologize him, and yes, he forgave me. So it just a little bit, save my feeling. But could be more exciting battle. I could be, yeah. So yes, I am very lucky to reach the address this week. So a little bit too hard, a little bit too aggressive. And not gentleman today. So I feel so dangerous. But I'm very happy to take the victory today.
Well, I'm glad you and he have made up after that incident early in the race. It didn't take him out of it. Both of you wound up returning to the front. How about that battle with Mick, though, for the top spot? It seems he really, really wanted it today.
Yeah. The Mick and the whole race is and the Nicola and the Philippe is just alien of this series, and the very fair drive. Yeah. So always happy to have a battle with these guys, and to this mix. It could be he spun in the cutting the last 2 or 3 laps, but if not happening, if he saved that, I think it's gonna be very close to finish.
Well, I'm no Jake Sperry, but would you like to thank anybody and shout out to your fans in Japanese?
Japanese?
Go
Okay.
for it.
開幕戦うまく決勝ね、うまくセットアップ、合わせて勝つことができて本当に、嬉しいです。見てくれてるのは多分家族の人と、あとちょっと友達が見てくれてるかもしれませんが、本当に、開幕戦うまく締めくくることができたので、この波に乗ってね、今後、この後のラウンドもうまく、上位でね、フィニッシュして、ポイントをうまく取れればいいなというふうに思ってます。ありがとうございました。いや、熱い。
Thank you very much, Togo. Congratulations on the win today.
Thank you.
That's your Victor in the number 5. I think real quick, maybe, do we have time for Joey to get Mick Claridge's thoughts on this? He had plenty to talk about, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think we got him in the booth real fast as we close out here, Mick. It's awesome to see you out there. You had the chance at the win, but it's kind of slipped through the fingertips. It's still a great race for you out here in third.
Yeah, it was good fun, mate. Yeah, can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah, we got you loud and clear through the barbecue.
Yeah, no, none of that going on anymore. Yeah, no, it was a good race, mate. You know, it was, I was a bit slower than I wanted to be, though, you know? Yeah, I was struggling a bit there for a minute, but no, it was good, you know? Enjoyed it.
Real fast, what happened going up there into the cutting? Were you just too wide?
Yeah, just too wide. That's all it was to it. And, I didn't realise that I had no grip on the outside there. So if you're talking about the right corner, because I don't know any of the corners at Bathurst, all I know is the chase and the dipper and elbow. That's it. Which one's the cutting? Turn 2?
The uphill where you spun it. The left-hander.
Yeah. Oh, the left hand. Yeah, no, that was, I just done a bit of a funky line to try and scare Togo in front of me, and that was it. I didn't know where I was when I hit the brakes. So yeah, I'm just glad it didn't spin all the way round, because you know how stinky that is, you know, so I was just able to keep going straight, so that was good.
Well, thank you so much for coming out here. You're one of the best characters we've got in these 49, so please keep coming
So are you,
around.
mate. So are you, Joey.
Oh, you're making me blush over here, Mick. So happy to see you finishing third today. We'll see you next time.
Can I just say hello to a couple of guys that are watching for the first time? We got Zach Attack. He's watching down in Plymouth, and we got the Pring, who's driving the bus now, doing his thing. The Pring doing his thing in the bus. Don't crash that bus, Pring. He's watching too. So hello to those.
That was Mick Claridge finishing third conveniently in the number 3 car, Joe.
You can even see the sparks as he just clipped the wall there on that shot as we went away. It certainly was taking it to the edge. We're going to wrap it up. So a big thank you to the team today, Joey, Christian, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race is Suzuka, Saturday, December 28th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Last one of 2024 for this series. Be sure to check out our other broadcast, because up next is the IMSA Vintage Series going to Mugello. That'll be at noon Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.